The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good afternoon. Just a quick word. The mountain road is closed due to a traffic collision between Brandywell and Craignabar. Road was closed at 10 o'clock this morning. As soon as we get more details, you'll have them. At the moment, the matrix signs don't appear to be reflecting that. Well, not the ones that we see anyway. The last update on the matrix signs that we've had from the government website is last Sunday. So we won't rely on those, but fingers crossed anyway. If you're heading towards the mountain, road closed between Brandywell and the Craig at the moment. So this change in the boundaries, the electoral boundaries, well, it's causing all sorts of shenanigans at the moment. There could be some electoral boundary changes before the next general election, not that far away, 3 years. If approved, the changes could affect Glen Faber and Peel, Middle, Ramsey, and either Ayr and Michael or Garth. The Electoral Commission is an independent body that's been reviewing the 2021 election and will be recommending changes to Tynwald after a series of public meetings and, guess what, an online consultation. Constituency borders are based on a calculation which looks at the average population per constituency and gives up to 15% leeway. It was previously revealed that Glen Faber and Peel's eligible voter population sits at 17%, while Ramsey's figure is 18.3. Now, if the politicians approve the changes, the next time we put our slip of paper in the ballot box, 2026, if you live in one of the areas in question, you could be voting for a different MHK or different MHK hopefuls, and potentially in a different constituency than you did in 2021. Chair of the Electoral Commission is Sally Bolton, who said that the proposals are there to ensure constituencies are equal and reflect the evolving population and development patterns of the Isle of Man. This is being done to make sure that we each continue to have the same voting power. The proposed changes can be seen in full, by the way. If you want to go to manxradio.com, we'll run through some of those later on. Lots of messages I didn't get to yesterday, so I will mention a few of those. We were talking about people cycling on pavements, people cycling in pedestrian areas, and potentially the fact that there was some confusion with the government's stated policy of promoting active travel and people riding to and from work, and also some shared spaces, example Douglas Promenade, and that perhaps some people just either don't know or don't care that you're not supposed to ride in a bicycle in a pedestrianised precinct or in a zone. And you're not supposed to ride a bicycle on a pavement. Mentioned yesterday about a tax, possibly insurance, so that if you are riding a bicycle, and many more people are going to be, potentially, of course, the ones that are electrified, they can go at quite a lick. So should they be taxed? Should an electric bicycle face road tax? I'm not talking about, what vehicles pay up to, £600, 20, 25, £30, £50, £1 a week perhaps, to ride a bicycle, an electric bicycle on public roads. Should it be taxed, and should there be any sort of insurance? It's a subject that comes up fairly frequently, but bearing in mind that the use of bicycles presumably is only going one way, i.e. that we're going to be encouraged to use bicycles more. What do you think? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. I'm partially sighted. I can't always see a cyclist when in Strand Street. When in the sun, says 627. Well, of course, they shouldn't even be on Strand Street, really. Any cycles should be being pushed. by somebody who's walking. They're just not supposed to ride a bicycle. I don't know how many times we have to say this. This is all due to the fact that Oliver Cheshire, the city centre manager for Douglas, sent out a polite press release to say, a media release, we're in the 21st century, a media release to say that cyclists should ride carefully and considerately, and please don't ride in a pedestrian precinct. We do have laws. There is a potential fine of £2,500. Can't remember. We did have a guy yesterday who said he got nicked in 1972, wasn't it? Well, never mind. I think he got a discharge, didn't he? You better be prepared for this in the future, says Des, who says our 15-minute cities adds for a shared space a speed limit of bikes for 5 miles an hour. They do it for cars, and we pay for the privilege. They're talking about 20 miles an hour. 20 is plenty around schools, so why not a speed limit of 5 miles an hour for bicycles? So, if you got any thoughts on this, I was knocked to the ground in Strand Street by a person on a large mobility scooter going very fast. Hit me from behind, and they couldn't have cared less, says Ted. That's 167's words. And presumably you took that up with the relevant authorities. I'm 61, and I cycle on the road, says Manx Robert. If I'm holding up traffic and it's safe and no one on the pavement, I hop on and cycle on the pavement. If I come across a pedestrian, I stop and get off. It's called courtesy, says Manx Rob. And Tony's with us now. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Andy?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I've got two things. One, I want to apologise to Mr. Lars Ugland. I assumed he was the chairman of the board at Isle of Man Steam Packet. But in actual fact, he's a non-exec chairman. And there is a massive difference. A non-exec chairman is only advising the board. He has no remit to go and tell anybody anything else outside of the board. And I'm sure Mr. Ugland's well aware of that. He's a multi-millionaire, and he's from Norway, this is quite common in Norway, because I used to live there. So the person that is responsible, because the non-exec chairman is not responsible, he just says, oh, well, it's the board's decision, not mine. So he shouldn't be making comments to the Manx government, full stop. That's for the board to make those comments, not him. The managing director, who is the person in charge, is Brian Thompson. Thompson, his name is, apparently. He's the managing director. And he's the one who should be addressing all these issues, not Lars Ugland. I just wondered if anybody had realised that. And the other thing, I find it very hard to find out who the board members are on the steam packet. And since it's a publicly owned company, by us, the taxpayers, surely they could get themselves together so that we know who's on the board, who are the responsible people on the board. Because it's quite important that we know who they are, because that's our money they're spending and throwing away, and it's also their right to do that, because we've given them that right, but it's also our right to know what's going on. So I would ask, who is the representative of the people, i.e. the Treasury, on the board? Because I've never seen a name for it.
Interesting. It'd be interesting to know where we can find what the makeup of the board of directors is for the steam packet.
It's a publicly registered company. They must have a list. They must, and it should be put on their website. But I went on the website and I couldn't find it. So the first thing the Treasury needs to do is get somebody in there and say, right, we've got to do this, this and this to become legal, because they're acting as though they're a government department, but they're not. They're a publicly owned company. So although it's arm's length trading, they operate that company on behalf of the Manx taxpayer. They are still a company registered at Companies House, I assume. And as such, they must list all the board members. As far as I know, that's the law. Of course, it doesn't have to apply in the Isle of Man. They can do what they like, because they tell us we can't ask any questions about it. So that's, again, a question.
Well, and again, I mean, I'll speak as I find. Brian Thompson, I've met several times. He's a very genial Glaswegian. He obviously knows what he's talking about. But, I mean, I'll say I've invited Mr. Thompson onto Mannin Line. He doesn't want to come on Mannin Line. We get in touch with the steam packet to find out various things. And we don't sometimes hear straight away. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And, of course, the steam packet, at the moment as it stands, can run the company really as they see fit. The only thing I would say is that if you don't tell people on the Isle of Man what you're doing, just like nature abhorring a vacuum, a lack of information sucks in all sorts of things like skeet and rumour. And unless you tell people what you're doing, people will often make things up.
100%, Andy. And the other thing is, of course, they have a statutory right, a statutory legal duty to tell people what's going on because they're a public company. I don't care whether we own them or somebody else owns them. If they were a publicly traded company, the same thing would apply. So they have a slightly different structure, but they can't just do what they want. You've got to tell people what's going on. And somebody in the Treasury must know that because they must sit on the board. I assume they must sit on the board.
Well, just like
but that might be
just like last night's sailing, obviously the steam packet, it didn't sail. The Manxman didn't sail last night to Heysham, and obviously it didn't come back, so everything's affected, the papers and this, that and the other. And we're told it's a technical issue. We've been told various things about technical issues, and of course, I can tell you, the moment they say it's a technical issue, I'll get half a dozen emails from people telling me it's different things. You know, it's everything from the gearbox to the drive shafts to the loading bay to absolutely everything, and we don't actually know what the problem is. And it's a new ship, and I think people will be very forgiving if there are teething problems with a ship. But it might be nice to know what they are.
100%. I mean, whoever their press officer is, I think the first thing needs to be they need to work out that people like to know what's going on. This is the Isle of Man. So they must start giving us information that's a bit more broad or a bit more detailed than a technical issue, mind your own business. That's not acceptable in my eyes. That's not acceptable at all. And if the board think that is acceptable, then we need to change the board as the main shareholder, because we are. We need to change the board. We need to put some people in there who've got some umph and belief that the board should be doing the right thing, which also means communication.
Yeah,
That's how you communicate. In a board, it's a requirement for the board to give advance notice of things that are happening, and it's also a requirement that they should answer questions which are valid questions.
Yeah. Well, particularly now as the steam packet is taking our letters, you know, Isle of Man Post stuff, a lot of it goes via the boat now. So, you know, it's very important where that's concerned. Our friends at Isle of Man newspapers, you know, their Friday paper, the Courier, has been delayed. It's going to be delivered to distributors tomorrow. So if you were thinking of getting an Isle of Man Courier tonight, it's not going to happen because the boat didn't sail. So the boat affects our lives. It's, you know, it's not just their boat, it's our connection.
100%, and therefore it should be treated with extreme honesty, I would say. We need to know what's going on, not because we need to comment on it, but we need to know what's going on, and then you won't get any comments. Best thing is if you tell the truth, people will shrug their shoulders and go, okay, fair enough, that's okay. If you don't tell us what's going on, you'll get all sorts of questions about, I think it's a spaceship, it's because it was made in South Korea. It'll go on and on and on.
Hence the fact that
there's anything majorly wrong with it.
No, hence the fact that the only people who talk about the Manning dispute is the unions. The unions will talk about that. We don't hear much from the steam packet about what it is. You know, the unions will say this is causing reputational damage for the Isle of Man and the steam packet in the UK. We don't know if it is or not.
Well, like I said yesterday, I think the issue is very much the steam packet had this in mind for quite some time, that they were going to put the crew on the board, on the vessel, which is fine. But that's why you've had to pay more money to get more cabins. which the crew live in upstairs, which I don't have a problem about. But why didn't they just say that to start with? I mean, I tend to find it very frustrating that people in government are not doing what they should do, and the people in publicly owned entities also don't do what they do, because it's following the government. Right, so that's Lars Uggland. He's a nice bloke, apparently. He's a multi-millionaire, but he has no say, as far as the steam packets are concerned, other than talking to the board and making a statement on behalf of the board. He has no right to go and start telling the government what to do, because that's the managing director's job. And it's also the board's job to report back to the government through its board member, who I don't know who it is. But somebody needs to be in there.
Okay.
Because if we haven't got somebody, then we're nuts.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Tony.
Okay. One last thing.
Okay.
I don't have anything against cyclists. I think it's a great thing having cyclists. But I think to stop all this arguments and everything else, it's easy. You give every cycle on the Isle of Man over the age of 8, any cycle that's issued or bought, it's got a number, a registered number, just like a small motorbike. And if it's an electric one, it's got to have insurance. I personally would make all cyclists have insurance, third-party liability, and they should have a number attached to the back of the saddle, so you can identify who's riding it or whose bike it is.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tony.
Just like a dog licence. Same issue as a dog licence.
Right.
£20 a year is plenty.
Have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend as well, Andy, and don't stop asking questions.
All right, thanks for that. 23 minutes past 12. I've got a note in from Chris, who said the Manxman didn't sell because she had a flat tyre. And a simple answer to the cycle problems is police not doing their job, says Pompey Pete. If there's a law, surely they're paid to uphold the law. Well, they also have bylaw officers in Douglas as well, not just police. David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I just want to carry on from the Chief Constable's statement. He's potentially going to have 300 officers short when he needs a full complement. And I just wondered, when he's coming on shortly, maybe we could ask him, what is the training programme for the island? Do we still have special constables that come out at the weekends? And the other thing is, regarding the DOI, they have a number plate recognition system. Do you remember when the DOI vans go out and there's a tripod, then they put a warning sign down the road that they're doing the checks on number plates?
Now, have they definitely got one? Because I hear contradictory views about this, that yes, they have, no, they haven't. It could be they might have it on a Friday. Have they definitely got an AMPR thing?
Yeah, the DOI have, because they used it last year, and normally they use it just before Christmas to find out how many people have not taxed their vehicles. And the good thing that would be on the island, there's still an amount of UK-plated vehicles or vans. There's still a couple of camper vans floating around there with UK plates on as well. And somebody said the other day to you that you could check them out. So I just wonder why we're not doing that. But the other thing regarding the police as well, what can we do to assist the Chief Constable in making life a little bit easier? And one would be, like you say, facial recognition, like there is already in Strand Street, so that anybody going through with a bike and reports it, they'll be able to go back on the cameras. The number plate recognition system, they could borrow that from the DOI. I'm sure they wouldn't charge them for doing that. And we need to pull things together to make this island a bit more secure. Don't you think so?
Well, the fact is, I like cyclists. I like cycling myself. You know, if more people cycle, that's great. But it's got to be done safely.
I quite agree with you. I was watching down on the promenade the other day, somebody going across from, say, the old Summerland end through. But once it opens up towards, say, the Cenotaph and stuff like that, people are crisscrossing. There used to be, remember the lane that was marked out?
There was one, wasn't there? Yeah.
You had to stay in the lane, and then it was a warning then for people who, a lot of people walk, nice sunny day like today, you want to see their grandkids are out, little bikes running around. Maybe we should review that a little bit. And before I forget, I was talking to a fella the other day regarding, you know, the zebra crosses on the prom, but you know the little, like, rumble strips, the brown bits?
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple, and I've been I looked through the window at a particular lady and said, somebody just walked straight out and assumes it's a zebra crossing. It's not a zebra crossing, in my opinion. And I've asked the DOI for a definition on it as well, because people are thinking it's an actual zebra, and the conditions are, you pull towards it and you slow down and stop. Them brown ones are encouraging people just to walk out, and I worry about young kids doing the same.
And that's the whole thing. When people see bad examples from other people, they often take that as read and say, well, if that person does that, then that's okay for me to do, just like people cycling down pedestrian areas. Yeah.
So what happened to Neighbourhood Watch? I'd love to find out. Remember, they had zones, and I'm a great supporter of the Chief Constable. He's doing community policing. They need to be banged home all the time, and my goal is going to be, till after Christmas, is to find out what I can do to support the Chief Constable in his aims.
OK, all right, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you. It's Texter 692 said cyclists also need to obey traffic lights. Saw one yesterday at lunchtime. Eagle Court, that's the Barclays place, isn't it, on Circular Road. He was in the lane to turn down and literally went straight through a red light. Do you ever see cyclists doing that? Traffic jumping at traffic queues by traffic lights as well. If we are to have more cycles, more people cycling, then the rules need to be right. Surely this is it. Perhaps Douglas City Council could put some bigger signs up to say, don't cycle. Get off your bike. The Isle of Man's Chief Constable was out and about last night. QE2 High School in Peel. The second of 4 police roadshows got underway last night. The Chief Constable's warned by the end of the year the force could be as many as 20 officers under strength. We had a Manx Radio microphone right by the Chief Constable.
The police roadshows tour of the island continues, and last night headed out west to Peel, where similarly to Onken's event, the main issues appear to be motoring and illegal parking. A number of charities were present, from Crime Stoppers to victim support, which, as we know, forms part of the police chief's top priority of putting the victim at the heart of what they do.
We're from victim support, so it's really interesting to understand what issues affecting each community.
The Home Affairs Minister told attendees how important it was for them to share their issues, as it would help them form part of future policing plans. So does that give confidence that what is raised could influence future operations?
Absolutely. They're listening to people, and it's obviously they're working for people, so they need to take on board their opinions and things that matter to them.
It's no secret how much the police force rely on the community to tell them what's going on, as any information passed on can form part of that heat map and build a picture of what's happening and where resources need to be allocated. Inspector Paul Kemp oversees officers in the west alongside the north and south.
We can only police to the demand. Tonight wasn't a massive surprise with any of the issues that were raised, and really that was around motoring and parking.
Crime Stoppers told us earlier this week that from the beginning of this year to August, they'd received 348 reports of crime. Since then, we've had a breakdown of those figures, and roughly 2/3 relate to drug crime. So is that reflective of what a day in the life of someone on the front line will see?
We do get a lot of drug-related offences reported to us. At the moment, there are different methods of reporting. That is monitored 24/7. People do report crime on social media, however, that isn't covered 24 hours a day, so there can be a delay. The issue is at the moment is having that infrastructure in place for people to report offences and for people to respond instantly. This is something that they are looking at moving forward on the technology side. It's not in place at the moment. I think it will be good going forward, but we need the persons there at the other end.
Something that won't ever change, though, is how the police work, and they work to laws set out by the government. Tim Crookall is the MHK for Peel and Glen Faber. He stresses how critical it is for politicians to understand what's going on out there.
Legislation is the most important thing we do, probably making sure that life on the island is what it should be. And when you get these opportunities to talk to people like the Chief Constable and his senior staff here, we should absolutely be jumping at those opportunities.
That was Tim Crookall. And if you've got anything you want to say further to that, by all means get in touch. By the way, for everybody who's been asking Manx Radio if you have more details about the armed police incident in Paul Rose yesterday, no, we don't. We've contacted the constabulary for more information. The video footage that was shared online with the station appearing to show officers with firearms and a member of the public outside a shop. No further details have been released, but as soon as they are, we'll tell you all about it. And Steve's on now. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Andy. Good afternoon.
Hi.
So it's just regarding the cycling issue that's being aired today. I'm one of the electric bike owners, so I would just like to make a couple of points out there.
Yep.
Firstly, they're governed at a top speed under the electric power of the bike to around 16, 17 miles an hour. So once they hit that speed, the electric motor turns off and you have to pedal to get where you're going to. They're a fantastic method of transport for getting yourself to work. The company I work for do a cycle to work scheme where they will enable us to purchase the bike with some assistance from them. I know David was on recently mentioning the path on the promenade. The path on the promenade was seaward side, next to the sea. The issue with it was that members of the public on foot were going across the cycle path to get a view of the sea, to get next to the railings, to look over, and it was a safety issue for those pedestrians. So I think that's why it was scrubbed away, and they used the Share with Care motto on the promenade. Now, the last point I would like to make on it is, yes, I am one of the cyclists. Yes, it does open your eyes to problems cyclists have on the roads with vehicles, and I'll give an example of coming down from Glenlock campsite where there are two solid white lines in the road, and the amount of vehicles that decide to overtake you while you're going past that campsite is unreal, and it puts you in a lot of danger, to a point where, yes, I have put my bike on the footpath because I've also found vulnerable on the road, and also going down the same road just at the junction there, where you turn up onto the Logie Crippity there that way.
Yeah.
The amount of vehicles that will cut you up, so they'll overtake you and then directly turn left or right, and you're having to slam what brakes are on your bike to avoid colliding with them. So I do understand the problems that pedestrians have with cyclists on the footpath, but it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Did you have a bike before you got the one through work, Steve?
I did, yeah. It was a non-powered droppy bike, but the electric bike helps me get places I would never ever be able to get to on that bike. So, for argument's sake, we can get up Ingebrek on the electric powered bike. I would never have been able to get up there on the unpowered bike. So it just opens the island up a bit more. And with a range of around 36 miles, 40 miles, it's a fantastic way to see the island.
What's your word then? What's your piece of information for drivers who maybe don't understand what your issues are on a bike?
Well, it's just to be a little more considerate. Hang back, don't get up their backsides. Make sure you can see clearly ahead of you. Make sure you're indicating to vehicles both behind you, and make sure you can see any oncoming vehicles in front of you. That's all I would say. Give the cyclist plenty of room, because it is quite intimidating when you've got vehicles coming right up behind you, and there's vehicles coming the other way that you can see. They can't overtake you. They seem to get a little bit frustrated and not being able to get past. So it's a bit of consideration for everyone, cyclists and other road users at the same time.
Terrific. Okay, Steve, thanks for calling today. We appreciate your opinion.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, 25 to 1.
Looking for the perfect gift for your foodie friends and family? Look no further than woodburndeli.im, your go-to online haven for culinary delights and thoughtful presents. At Woodburn Deli, we offer everything from specialty spirits and wines to artisanal cheese and charcuteries. Step inside and explore perfect gifts and treats for you or your loved ones. Not to mention our selection of hand-packaged hampers. Vouchers available too. Just visit woodburndeli.im.
These days, time is a precious commodity. It's difficult to balance work, life and play, but enjoying quality rest and relaxation is essential for our overall well-being. We need downtime, time for ourselves, time for stressless. At Millichaps and Ramsey, most stressless recliners come in multiple sizes for the perfect fit. Relax your body, free your mind, and discover the ultimate in comfort in the stressless studio at Millichaps.
Hello, I'd like to rent a car for 3 days. Just something reasonable.
No problem at all. We've just got a few rules to make you aware of. You can't go off island, you can't smile in the car, you can't take any friends, it's £10,000 a day, and you'll need £1 million deposit up front. Any questions?
Renting a car doesn't need to be so difficult or expensive. With prices from just £50 per day, speak to Rex Rental Company or book online at rexrental.im.
Rex Rentals. I'm so glad to hear that.
Are you concerned about your eye health? Holmes & Davidson Opticians in Douglas are proud to offer the Eidon Ultra-Wide Field Retinal Imaging and Heidelberg 4D OCT systems. State-of-the-art machines that allow early detection and management of eye diseases. Don't wait. Book your appointment today and ensure the health of your eyes with the best technology available. Call 676 230 or visit holmesanddavidsonopticians.co.uk now.
A trio of appointments were announced this week by government, with MHK's John Wannenberg and Tim Glover taking over as chairs of Manx Utilities and Office of Fair Trading, respectively, subject to Tynwald approval. John is current chair at the OFT and Rob Collister was chair at the MUA last year. Rob now takes over as chair of planning. Follow all that? Well, light and clarity will be delivered on Perspective this Sunday at 12 noon on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gaughan. Does OFT have enough power and resource to protect consumers? Is planning fit for purpose? Will your electricity bills be safe in John Wannenberg's hands?
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
23 minutes before 1. Ken's on now. Hi, Ken.
Afternoon, cycle lanes. I don't know whoever planned the cycle lane on Peel Road outside McDonald's didn't take into account the queuing system, because the cars at busy times, Friday night and things, the cars queue up on the cycle lane.
Well, it's the unofficial McDonald's queue, isn't it? It was a really long queue last night. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know. Maybe the chips weren't cooked.
But the interesting point, I was sat there Wednesday in a passenger in a car getting petrol, and 5 cars drove straight through the forecourt to the milestone and then turned left onto the main road and then turned immediately left into McDonald's. And the only reason it brought to mind, the first 4 were all right, but the last one, which was driving a white thing, was travelling quite quickly, weaved the way through the cars that were getting petrol, got quite close to my driver, who had to stop as she was going to pay.
Yeah.
Went out onto the main road, turned left onto the main road, and then turned immediately left, following I don't know whether they were playing Follow My Leader or not.
You see, I just wonder about that because that queue at McDonald's just snaked back, as you say, towards the miles, and I don't know. I mean, that's entirely unofficial. You're not allowed to. I don't think you're allowed to wait on the Peel Road.
Now, I have watched at daytime when it's been busy. Some cars do come in through the forecourt and get into that queue because they get preference. People let them out only for them to go into McDonald's.
Right.
So I always thought it was a shortcut, but this incident I was talking about was with 5 cars was sort of 10:30 at night. So there was no queue. It just seems maybe, I don't know.
Well, and certainly the cycle lane, as you say, does actually go onto the pavement on that part of the Peel Road, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So,
and just like the other point I want to make, I'm on without the gas board, Alaman Energy. I'm on my 6th bill for the same period now.
Oh no!
And I've got it down to about £1 of what I agree with. So they invented a balance. What? But nobody's ever mentioned. Our government's not stepped in to say, right, the call centres I think it's in Glasgow, they've closed the public counter. It's appointment only. So have they made people redundant?
They say not.
I wonder what they're doing then.
Well, I mean, you can still make an appointment to go in and see, but it's taken away that, I'll just pop to the gas board. Or, sometimes you don't remember things, and sometimes, people moving houses or changing accommodation or, putting in gas central heating need to get it connected. And, it was the thing, it just seemed more available when you could walk in through the door.
Yes. I assume the government can't do anything because they're not a Manx company. Unlike the steam packet, but we won't go there.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Ken. Good to hear from you. I'd like to find out whether or not, if we're going to abolish or pause the work permit system, says Neville. Neville says, will people be allowed to turn up at the Isle of Man and look for work? Now, the thing is that the work permit system, if it's going to be suspended, means that if people have got a job, they don't need to go through the work permit system. But will people be allowed to come to the Isle of Man and look for work? Or do you have to have the job before you come over? Because Neville said, I can't see how they're going to regulate that, because people could just turn up, stay with friends or relatives, and look for work. But surely that's not how it's meant. So we'll find out more. But the work permit, employers are welcoming the proposed suspension of the work permit system, saying the work permit is a barrier for off-island workers. You heard the Ilana Swindon, the HR director, what we used to call personnel at the Palace Group, says that hospitality is seen as a temporary job for Manx workers, but if we take the work permit system away, it'll be easier to recruit from off the Isle of Man. You got any thoughts on that? Text, email, call, and WhatsApp. Everybody's saying it was a flat tyre for the Manx. I don't think it was a flat tyre for the Manxman. When are these electric buses coming? Fingers crossed they're not. It's all gone quiet. And by the DOI doesn't have ANPR, they go back to the office after a day's photo taking and look up the cars. So it isn't automatic number plate recognition. So is that true then? They just take photos and go back. Sure, they have to have permission to do that, don't they? Regarding cyclists, why are we allowing cyclists on the mountain road? Says WhatsApper 427. It's an accident waiting to happen. And a message in from 182 just said, anybody in a household with home insurance, with household insurance, is automatically covered for third-party insurance between £2 and £10 million. That's cyclists, by the way, 182. So there is an insurance for cyclists, but it's if you have a household policy. So what happens if you don't? I know of at least one or two police vehicles that have ANPR cameras on them, but they're not allowed to use them. That's Manx Skeet. We'll put that in that pigeonhole. Is that true? Do the police have ANPR but can't use it? 632 with that. Ramsey's terrible, says... No, or it's terrible for bad cyclists, sorry. I reminded two people tearing down the path at Albert Tower Glen. It's pedestrians only. They completely ignored me. One pulled a wheelie and laughed. Vehicle drivers gain access, that's Big John by the way, vehicle drivers gain access to a licence with a vigorous test. Cyclists unfortunately jump on and go sometimes with no knowledge of the highway code. So any thoughts on that? Oh, and talking of bad behaviour, there was some on the, I think it was on the Airs, wasn't it, yesterday? They're trying to find out, some damage has been caused to the nature reserve. Somebody's driven dangerously and spun their vehicle at high speed. Government's issued a warning saying the reserve is one of the Isle of Man's most biodiverse areas, and using it must follow the area's bylaws, fines up to £5,000. So somebody's been doing wheelies or spinning some donuts on the Airs. Not really clever, to be quite honest. Images were on the Isle of Man government Facebook. Ayres National Reserve is an area of special scientific interest, and walkers are encouraged to be aware that birds and plants in the area are given priority. Dogs have to be kept on leads during the bird nesting season, which finished on the 31st of July. But donuts, really? Julian's on. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Yep, it's lovely up at the Airs. One of my favourite places to have a wander.
So why would anybody do a donut on the Airs? Why would you want to do that?
Well, who knows? It's. It's happened in the past. They put all those wooden little stud things in, didn't they, to stop people from driving up? Because I remember a time when you could drive pretty much all the way from Smale all the way up to the Airs at one time, which a lot of people did. But that's all come to a stop now. So, just a quick one: the propulsion system on the Manxman. Wärtsilä, who I think provided the engine and that propulsion system, they say that their high system, HY or hybrid system, is tailored to the customer's requirements. And for RoPax type vessels like the Manxman, it seems to be a lithium battery sized at around 600 kilowatt hours. Now that weighs about 4 tons and is equivalent to 10 Nissan Leaf batteries. It seems to be managed by a complex pair of computerized systems called the Energy Management System and the Integrated Automation System. They attempt to try and use the battery drive to smooth out the load on the engines from waves and wind, which they call peak shaving, along with propulsion out of port on electric whilst the engines warm up. The charging is recommended using Wärtsilä's new wireless charging system, which can transfer at a rate of 2 megawatts. So 2 hours of that charger would be the same as an average house's yearly electrical consumption. So I think it needs quite a big whack of charging when it's tied up. Unfortunately, of course, the Ben, I think, is still at the Belfast docks from what I can see on Vessel Finder, and I think the MV Arrow is currently sailing to Stornoway in the Outer Hebrides, so hopefully at some point we'll have a bit of backup back over here.
Interesting. All right. Okay, Julian, we appreciate that. Have a good weekend.
You too, Andy. Cheers.
All right, 13 minutes before 1.
Come home to fresh style. Come home to boutique designer collections of the world's finest furniture and decor. Come home to our second home, Lifestyle Furniture at the Mill. From luxurious sofas and great gift ideas to exclusive ranges from renowned global brands, including Alf Italia, Collins & Hayes, Tetrad and the Vintage Sofa Company. You'll always find more at the Mill. Lifestyle Furniture at the Mill. Find us in the Courtyard, Tynwald Mills. Open 7 days a week.
Get more this Christmas with Shaw. Sign up to a Shaw Unlimited Max Pay monthly mobile plan and get a £100 to spend in M&S. Unlimited data, our fastest download speed, 8 gigabytes of Zone 1 roaming data, plus a £100 M&S gift voucher. What more could you want? Visit us in-store or online at shaw.com. T's and C's apply.
We are number one. We are family run. Mike's Motors. Mike's Motors.
All the nice motors are at Mike's Motors. From cars you can cruise in to motorhomes you can all snooze in. Whether you want to plug it in overnight or plug through muddy fields all day, no one has a better selection of quality used motors. So come and see why Mike's Motors are better by miles.
Mike's Motors.
Call 823 200. Click mikesmotors.im.
Preparing for your GCSEs and thinking about your next step? Are you finishing your A-levels and thinking about university? Or perhaps you're an adult wanting to return to education, reskill or upskill? Then come along to University College Isle of Man's next open event on Thursday 16th of November between 4pm and 7pm. Visit our Homefield Road campus to learn all about our range of courses and subjects and explore our facilities. For more information, visit ucm.ac.im.
Port Erin resident James Fenton is 101 years old. At the age of 20, he enlisted into the British Army, and after basic training, Bombardier James Fenton of the Royal Artillery was sent to fight with the 14th Army in the steamy jungles of Burma.
We had to be very aware of cholera and insect bites. Malaria was another thing. We were shelled every night without fail.
Hear James Fenton's amazing story as part of Manx Radio's Remembrance for 2023. 6 o'clock on Tuesday and again as a podcast straight after.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 11 minutes before 1 and Diane's with us. Hi, Diane.
Oh, hello, my dear. I feel I'm a bit croaky.
You don't sound very well.
No, and I forgot to bring any hankies in with me, and I'm looking around. I wanted to mention, first of all, to say I will not now ever travel on the steam packet because of these EV cars. But what I'm trying to inform the people, everybody on the island should see this. It's on. It's an EV car exploding, and it's worse than a bomb or a terrorist attack. And it's on. Oh, sorry about this. It's on Neil McCoy Ward's Walk and Talk when he's in Portugal. I think it's either the last Friday or of October or the first Friday in November. And you've got a line of CB cars. They're undercover, but they're divided up by these barriers. And there's a man standing next to this, and it explodes. And the bits and whatever it is that's red, I don't know, flies across, because these things are in the middle of a wide road and there's houses and bungalows, behind them. And it explodes, and massive things, as I said, flies to the other side of the road and then comes back, and he hits this man and he just knocks him out. I don't know if I killed him or not, but I've never seen anything. I won't park anywhere near them.
Well, they reckon, I mean, the thing is, they reckon that problems with electric vehicles, pure electric vehicles, are very few and far between, Diane.
Well, not if you follow where it's going on everywhere, because people are now talking about, sorry about this, these electric bikes. If they're stupid enough to charge them up in their houses or outside near the front door or like that, they catch fire. They've caught fires in multi-story flats, like Grenville when that went up. But the what do you call it? The cladding outside had been changed, so it was only that flat that was actually more or less burnt out by them. But these things, this one with a car, I'm telling you, I mean, I don't know about you, but we used to see the car bombs in Northern Ireland when the troubles were going on there, or terrorist attacks when they dropped bombs inside of these sort of solid waste paper bins and killed that little 12-year-old. But everybody has to see this, because they'll never be able to make a decision until they see it. And on Neil's, as I said, Friday Talk and Walk, he's showing one on there, and it's horrendous.
All right. Okay, listen, I think you better get back to bed and take a Lemsip, Diane.
Oh, I don't take them. I just take me garlic and stuff.
Jolly good. All right. Thanks for calling today.
Yeah, bye.
All the best to you. And, you pays your money. You takes your choice with electric vehicles, don't you? I mean, the propensity for them to spontaneously combust is very, very, very low. But there are cases where they have burst into flames, where the battery packs do burst into flames. Now, probably not as prevalent as fires with internal combustion engines, but the risk is still there. Anyway, the choice is yours. 35% of new residents leave the Isle of Man within 5 years of their arrival. Alan in Peel said, I can't believe it. He said, I saw this on Manx Radio's website and can't believe it. Is that true? Well, it is. The population of the Isle of Man went up by 461 recently. And there's a report out, a population report by the Cabinet Office, and it says that within that 35% of new residents who come to the Isle of Man leave within 5 years of their arrival, and they're aiming to get 15,000 new residents on the Isle of Man. Next Tuesday, it's an open line on Monday, but Tuesday we're talking about renewable energy. In particular, we're talking about tidal and wave energy, and exactly, do we have a future with this? We are surrounded by sea. Of course we are, Andy. We're an island. So is tidal power or wave power something that we can look at? Now, a man who knows all about this, because he's worked in the sector for a long time, is Clive Callister. And he'll tell you all about Salter's Duck. If you ever remember an old an old edition of Tomorrow's World, you'll know what I'm talking about. Salter's Duck. So is tidal or wave power something that we can look forward to on the Isle of Man in the future? And a message in from Kerry, who just said, can you tell us when the next Constabulary Roadshow is? Yes, I can. It is a week on Monday, the 20th of November. It's at Castle Rushen High School from 6 through till 8 o'clock. A week on Monday. That following Thursday, the 23rd, Ramsey Grammar School. And the Wednesday after that, they'll be at Sight Matters in Oncombe from 6 through till 8. The police hosting the community roadshows. Get to know your MHK this weekend on Saturday. Anne Corlett and Chris Thomas will be at All Saints Church Hall in Douglas for Douglas Central from 2 till 4. And on Saturday, tomorrow morning from 10 till midday, Alex Allenson and Laurie Hooper, the Ramsey MHKs, will be at Ramsey Town Hall upstairs in the coroner's office. They'd love to see you there. That's it. Thanks for being with us this week. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones. Have a great weekend.
WIN